Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Andre. I'm the Executive Director of the Philadelphia Tax Review Board, and today we are having a session of water revenue and water department. Today is September 26th of 2023. Literally with me today is our chair, Nancy Cameradiner. She's not usually here with me. And other board members, Paula Weiss, George Matthews, and I saw her, Dominique Ford. I have to say, please be aware that this is a public hearing and it is being recorded because the meeting is public. Participants and viewers have no expectation of privacy. And by continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. This recording will also be put onto our website as it is a public hearing. I also want to mention that we do not have a stenographer at the moment. She is running late. However, we are recording, and so she will use this recording if any of these cases, in fact, need to be transcribed. All right, Nancy, can we start off with the first two cases? And I will put the gentleman on 5 and 6 in the room.
Okay, very good. Cases 5 and 6 for Jerome Moore. Last four digits of the docket 1731 and 7962.
In the withdrawal.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm being reminded that we did have a couple of continuances and withdrawals, and I was jumping ahead there. Item number 1 for KNC Real Estate LLC has been continued. Item number 3 for Brigman Housing and Development, last four digits of the docket 9960, has been withdrawn. And that leaves us with 4 cases, 3 different presenters. And I see that our presenter for cases 5 and 6, Jerome Moore, is now in the room. Please identify yourself for the record.
First name is Jerome, middle initials L, last name is Moore Jr.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth with everything that comes before our board?
Sure do.
Thank you very much. Trying to see now which one will be the first of your 2 cases, because I understand that they are separate. Do we have any preferences from the city's end in terms of whether we should deal with the water revenue case or the water department case first?
I have no preference.
I have no preference. I have a question then that might help. Does the water bill, that is the water revenue matter, stem from the water department issue of the curb box? Is that where the we're talking high usage? I didn't see if how that timeline.
So for the water department's case, it's for a meter and repair charge for the curb box. I'm not sure what Mr. Payne can speak to his case.
Perhaps
From my
water department case first. I just think it might be smoother.
Okay, who do we have here who's representing the water department?
Katusa Shiraz.
And do we have anyone else who needs to be identified who's not an attorney?
Yes, Mr. Jason Locke. He is a witness for the water department.
Okay, is he on the call at this point?
Yes.
Oh, I see now. But right past him. Please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, Jason Locke, Philadelphia Water Department.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth with everything that comes before the board?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who will need to be sworn for the water department side of things?
No.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Then if
Numbers.
do we have someone who's giving us the numbers for the record?
So you want the docket number?
No,
The numbers of the
charge.
Oh, so it's $865 for the total charge.
And what's the date on the charge or the bill date?
11/12/2019. There was a previous hearing where there was a lien originally on, in addition to the $865, and after that hearing, the lien was removed. So now we're with the original $865.
And that charge is for what?
It's for meter and repair for the curb box. which Mr. Locke can explain. what
So
that-
it's the meter and the curb box?
It was a broken curb stop. It's the access outside the property.
Yeah, okay.
Um, Does the city have anything that they want to add at this point to give us some background before we turn to the petitioner?
Sure, so I do have some questions for Mr. Locke.
But wait a minute, but we start with the petitioner putting on their position.
Right, but that's what I didn't know whether there was
You have
any.
an opening statement?
I do. So on October 30th, 2019, a notice of defect was issued for a defective curb stop. And then on 11/12/2019, the water department crew corrected the defect, excavated and replaced the curb box, and valve, repaired the footway and shut off the water. And the owner was charged the $865 for that repair. And the deed lists Mr. Moore as the owner of the property, which the notice was directed to. And the appeal was filed on January 10th, 2020.
Okay. Then let's turn to the petitioner. Please tell us why you're here and what it is you're looking for from this board.
So I'm not too particularly sure about the dates, but I do know the sequence of events. So I received a phone call from my sister who was living at my house at the time and said that the water was turned off during the time in which I had an agreement waiting for a hearing. So I was instructed prior to it being turned off that as long as I was paying the current bill, that there would be no interruption of services. So when my sister called me on that day, and I'm not particularly sure about what day it was, saying that it had been turned off, I immediately came here where I had this hearing and asked why that was the case. And they said, well, your water should not have been turned off. Someone was misinformed or someone didn't have the right information. So then when I went back to the house, I was told that I was going to be responsible because during the shut off, when they went back out to turn the water back on, a valve was broken. And as a result of the valve being broken, I was being charged for something that was turned off that shouldn't have been turned off. And I'm thinking, I didn't break it, so why am I being responsible for a repair that was deemed unnecessary and shouldn't have been turned off anyway? I didn't have control of a shut-off valve at the curb. So when I came down here to the planning board, they were saying that I was still responsible because it needed to be repaired. And I just felt like, I don't understand how I'm going to be responsible for something that should not have been turned off. So then I had another meeting with the city of Philadelphia, and they said, well, clearly your water should not have been turned off because you're on an agreement and you haven't had your hearing yet. So we don't understand why your water was turned off. And I couldn't answer that.
Okay. Anything else you want to add before we turn to the city?
No, I was looking for, when I was told that I was still responsible for it, regardless, I just felt like I don't understand why.
Then let's turn to the city. Please tell us more about your perspective on this matter.
Mr. Locke will be able to explain further why the notice was issued, if I may begin asking him questions.
Please.
Mr. Locke, you already stated your name for the record, but if you could just repeat it again.
Yes, Jason Locke, City of Philadelphia Water Department.
Thank you. And what is your title at the water department?
I'm a supervisor for
And-
DNR,
And what does DNR stand for?
delinquency and restorations.
And are you familiar with the property at 3906 Wallace Street?
Yes.
And how are you familiar with that property?
It was through a delinquency bill. We had an FSR, meaning field service rep, go out to the property, shut the water off for delinquent bill. As he went to the property, he discovered a broken curb stop. Served a violation. We were unable to shut it off. And we give the customer a 10-day notice to repair. If they do not repair, we will come out and make the repairs to shut the water off, to terminate the water.
And can you tell the board why it's important to have an operable and accessible curb box?
Yes, it's another access outside the property, shut off water in case there's any kind of broken pipes inside the property that can cause damage to adjacent properties next door.
And why did the city go out and repair the defect?
Delinquent water bill.
And is it your understanding or what is your understanding of who's responsible for maintaining that curb box and stop?
The homeowner is responsible.
Okay. I just want to share my screen if I may. Apologies. Alright. Does everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Locke, do you see my screen here?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and you were not the inspector, the crew chief who issued this notice, correct?
Correct. I'm not.
Okay, but is it fair to say that you're familiar with the issuance of these types of notices during your years of experience at the water department?
Yes.
And have you reviewed this document previously?
Yes.
And is this the notice that you were just referring to?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And when was this notice issued?
10/29/2019.
And why was it issued?
Defective curb stop.
Screen here. And I just want to mark that as exhibit 1, city 1, and ask that it be moved into the record. And sir, my last question to you is, can you please tell the board the total charge for the repairs that were made?
It was $865.
Thank you. And those are all my questions for Mr. Locke.
Mr. Locke,
Yes.
can we see that form again? Ms. Sharosky?
I can bring it up again, yes. The notice.
Mhm. Mr. Locke, was this left at the property? Was it mailed? What happened to this after on 10/29/2019?
A copy was left at the property.
Okay, was it,
Yes.
I noticed that under correction required, nothing is checked off. How is the homeowner to know what their responsibility is?
Yeah, I see that.
Okay.
But
Was
even a
it,
violation alone, I think I believe they get one mailed out too. After this one is served at the door.
but you don't have that information as to what happens after?
No, I don't.
Okay. And were you involved at all with whatever took place that required the corrective action?
Yeah, I believe I was the crew chief on that job. I had a crew out there. November 12th, 2019.
November 12th?
Yes.
Okay. Was there actually water leaking, or you it was just defective?
It's just the curb stop itself. It's actually the part where the wrench goes on.
Mm-hmm.
It was broken off. So we cannot turn it at all.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Those are my questions for right now.
any other board members have questions? Does the petitioner have anything to add before the board steps aside to consider this matter?
I have some questions.
Wait. I think Mr. I'm sorry, Mr. Moore might have a question, and I don't know if the city has any other witnesses, Nancy.
Okay, well, I had turned to Mr. Moore and he started to speak just as you started to.
So I think
Let's turn to Mr. Moore first, and if the city has anything to add after that, we can get that before we step aside.
Yeah, I needed to state, I'm not a lawyer, so I just have questions. The paper that they showed that was dated 10/29, that's the first time I'm saying that. I don't know if that was timestamped, I see it was dated, but I would not have known about 10/29, just as I didn't know about them coming to shut off indoor repair, to turn the water back on if I had not been called from my sister. So I had enough time when that I came down and asked questions about why it was turned off, to then find out that it was broken and that I was being charged on that same day. So it gave me enough time. And I don't know what date that was. I think you said 11/12, or whatever date he gave.
November 12th.
11/12. So I certainly wasn't aware of the pink slip that was issued. So I wasn't pre-informed. And I don't know that they knew that it was either broke, cracked, twisted, or whatever it was, other than having turned it off because it was a delinquent bill. I wasn't aware of all those other things. So it was only my knowledge that nothing was supposed to happen until I had my hearing. So for it to have been turned off was my surprise, but I was under the impression that it was during the time to turn it back on that they discovered the break, and it required them to work until like the 8 o'clock hour at night to get it fixed. That was my impression. This is the first time I've seen that document that was shared.
The city have any other evidence or witnesses?
I only have, the inspection report for the 12th, November 12th of 2019, saying that the work was completed. And I also have Mr. Moore's appeal that has the charge for the $865.
Oh, I did have a question. Mr. Locke, maybe you can answer this. On the 29th of October, when they went out to the property, what was the primary purpose?
A delinquent water bill.
And so it was a shut off.
Yes.
That was my question. Okay, and that's when they discovered that there was an issue with the curb box. So did they shut it off at that time?
No, they didn't shut it off. We
Not
were unable, yeah.
Okay. Did they shut it off in November when they went back and did the repair?
That was shut off, yes. On 11/12/2019.
And when was it restored?
It was restored 11/13/2019. After the repair was made.
And was it shut off in order for the repair to occur, or was it I'm sorry.
It was shut off. So we made the repair, then we shut it off.
Right. So I'm sorry, my question really was it restored? It was not restored because the repair was made. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we made the repair.
Reason.
Yeah, we made the repair on the 12th. Shut it off. Customer got a restore the following day. We have a restore on the 13th of November, 2019.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from board members?
Why did you take that much time to restore it? From 11/12 to 11/13, you should have been turned it on 11/12 itself, right?
Was that?
George, can you repeat that?
You turn it off on 11/12, right, for repairs?
You speaking to me?
Yes,
Yes, we made the repair.
okay,
It was still in delinquency. It was still be able to shut off. So we shut it off. Then they had to make a phone call to get the water restored. So I don't know if they called on the 12th or if they called the following day. That's when the restore was created, and that's when the restore was completed. 11/13/2019.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Does the city have any additional documentation showing that there was anything mailed to petitioner regarding this delinquency, regarding the bill, regarding the correction actions needed?
So there was the notice that I showed you,
That was left at the property, there was testimony.
and then let me just share my screen.
And also,
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it. Can you identify it?
So this will be City 2. Mr. Locke, could you please explain to the board what this document is?
This is for the repairs. So this is the paperwork we give out to the crew. They fill out, and also they close it out in a Shrink It app that we have. This explains what work was done, and what needs to be done afterwards. So we discovered a broken curb stop. We excavated it, our plumber fixed it, backfill new curb box, need cement, water's off with lock.
And then it appears that there's a yellow portion.
Yeah, that's the plumber's slip. That's for our plumber, city plumber.
And then this is the water and water, sewer, and stormwater bill, correct?
Yes.
And then,
Anything else that the city wants to add at this point?
no, that's all.
And does the petitioner have any other questions that have come up as a result of the last discussion?
The date on his form said 11/12. He stated that they turned the water on the 13th. Everything was done on that same day. The water was turned off, turned back on, and there was nothing done on the 13th, as is my understanding. And it shows it on that paper that she just shared. And one of the questions that I asked during my first hearing was, when I purchased this property, I had to get a meter installed. And in order for the new meter to be installed, the city had to come in and they turned my water on. And they also turned it off for the meter to be properly installed. And I don't think there's any record indicating during that time frame that there was something wrong with my meter. Twisted, wrong, broken, nothing. So that's why I had my first question asked around during that meter install, because the house was compromised and everything was taken out of it. I had to go out and buy stuff for the proper fitting for a meter to be put in. I arranged for that to be done with the city way prior to this date that they came in to do any meter repair. And I don't think there's ever been a conversation about something was wrong at the curb. I don't know that, but it wasn't addressed then at the time of the install of the meter. So that was another question that I had. So if there was anything remotely wrong or compromised, or that might not need to be addressed on my end, I would have thought it would have been brought to my attention during that meter install. And that was
when did you purchase the property?
in 2019,
Oh, what month? Do you remember?
11, in November.
But you purchased the property in November of 2019?
Yeah, it says it right here on the deed. On 11, on this indenture made the 29th of November, sorry, 2018.
18.
Yeah, 29th of 2018. Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay,
And do you have an off-premises mailing address for the city?
I do.
You get your water bill somewhere other than the property?
That's why, again, if anything was sent, I would have received it at my address in Ardent.
Okay, and your sister or whoever the tenants are did not give you that pink sheet that Mr. Locke showed?
No, that's why I was kind of,
Okay,
I got the frantic call about the water being turned off, but I didn't get any call from my sister stating that anything was left. And that's not like her, but my sister's deceased now, so I don't want to bring that to the conversation.
okay. I don't have any further questions.
If I may, I have a photo, a screenshot of our internal system that states that the curb violation was set on that date. if the board would like to see that, I can show you that as well.
Yes,
If you think that would help us in our review, we would certainly be interested in seeing it.
Okay, give me one moment, please. Can you see my screen here?
Yes,
See it, but it would need to be enlarged a little bit to really be able to read it.
it's a, you can see it.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
is there any way to know if that was sent to the property or some off premises address?
This was sent to the property that was, the 3906 Wallace Street.
Okay,
And
when you-
was it sent by mail or was it just left at this property? Do you know?
Mr. Locke,
Yes, the one we left at the property, and then they send one out also after the fact. So they should have received another one through mail,
When you say send out, you mean by mail?
by mail, yes.
And do you know where it was sent? Was it sent to the property address or was it sent to Mr. Locke's?
It should have been sent to the address on file, 3906 Wallace, yes. We don't send them out. I believe Water Revenue must.
And the city doesn't have a witness that can testify to where it was mailed?
but when you look up, so to access what I just showed you, you would have to look up the property address, so. It's associated with 3906 Wallace Street.
Any additional questions before, or statements before the board goes back?
I know that the city's had issues with mail, but I don't know that I've ever received mail from the water department. We didn't have the problems that we had then that we have now with mail in that area. So I don't know for any reason why my sister would not have told me that she received such a notice, especially when it comes to water. My sister was a dialysis patient, and I'm sure she would not have ignored something about water. She just would not have done that.
If there's nothing else, then the board's going to step aside to consider our decision.
If everyone can just stay right here, the board is gonna go into a virtual waiting room. Mm,
Is everyone back?
I can't find,
Yes. No, no.
No,
there-
Paula.
Paula's not here.
one second, I'm just waiting for our last board member who sometimes get lost.
Now, if I were at home, we'd
It would
the
be you.
same-
It would be you.
me. I'd be the last one.
Hi, Stacy. Thank you for
Okay.
coming on. All right, Nancy.
Okay, the board's reached a decision. It's our decision to grant the petition and to reduce the bill to zero. You'll get a letter from us that spells out our decision. Both sides do have the right to appeal to the Court of Common Pleas. I will expect in this instance that probably will not happen, but that is the general situation here. We do have another case.
Wait,
for,
Nancy, this is Paula Weiss. I concur.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
Dominic Ward, I concur.
George Matthews, I concur.
and Nancy Camerino, I concur. Sorry about that. I was jumping ahead too quickly. We have another matter for Mr. Moore with the Water Revenue Bureau. Who do we have representing the Bureau who needs to be identified and sworn?
Yim Ping representing the city. I'd like to identify Miss Angela Brockton Long as a WRB witness and Mr. Andrew Dybelski as the Philadelphia Water Department representative.
If they could each identify themselves for the record, please.
Angela Brockington, Water Revenue Bureau.
Andrew J. Dybowski, Philadelphia Water Department Meter Division.
And for each of you, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth with everything that comes before the board?
Yes, I do.
Okay, fine, thank you. Does the city have any introductory comments on this part of the
Numbers.
Oh, yeah, I'm being reminded here, part of those introductory comments should be the numbers for the record.
Okay, the period in question is October 10, 2013 through June 30th, 2017. The principal is $2,525.05. Penalty $41.95. Lien $91.45, and the total $2,658.45.
Thank you. Does the city have any opening comments here before we turn to the petitioner?
Yes, the petitioner of this case basically appealing the balance transfer from the previous owner. Basically, this is the water and sewer charge delinquencies accumulated by the previous owner, Lynn Ross, and transferred to Ms. Jerome Moore on or about the December of 2018. So for the disputed period, October 10th, 2013 to June 30th, 2017, the underlying dispute is basically a meter shop visits replaced a missing. I remember it's missing meter. So the actual before the meter shop visits, the account was accumulating only a service and stormwater charge. It was estimated 0 usages. Yeah, that's the opening of the city.
Okay, let's turn to the petitioner. Please tell us why you're here and what it is you're looking for from this board on the water revenue matter.
This is on me. During the process of purchasing this property, Mr. Lynn had communicated to me that he was petitioning the use of the house because there was no meter there and there was no water running, and that I was supposed to come with him to negate what those charges were. Since then, he has reneged on his appearance, and I'm, as the owner, responsible for whatever uses it is. So I thought we were going to come in together and have questions about what the current usage was, and I have to take responsibility for what was left on that bill. As currently, the bill is extremely high now, so I need to take ownership on it. But initially, he was supposed to come and speak better than I could have before taking ownership of that property about the excessive use and where there wasn't a meter because the house had been taken by squatters and the meter was removed and there was no water coming in the house. So it's on me.
May I, the city would like to say, the owner of the property is responsible for the balance transfer from the previous owner.
Sure. Yeah, the only question I would have is now that the normal consumption went from 200 to 300 to sometimes 1,700, 3,800 to now 4,000. There's something going on with the meter, but I can't make this a part of this hearing because we were talking about 2017. But the current usage of this meter is off significantly, way above 200. It goes from 4,000 sometimes a month to 1,300, 1,500. For November and December, 9,000, 9,500 consumption uses.
I don't know what months you're talking about.
Yeah, if you look at the sheet you guys provided me with, 08, 22, 7,500 uses. 9, 8, 22, 9,900 uses. 10, 12, 22, 9,500 consumption.
Well, those periods are not in front of us, and you probably need to see what's going on at the property.
Does the city have those records that they could show them? Or no?
This appeal is specifically for that balance transfer. If he wishes to discuss the additional usage going forward, he'd have to file another petition, so that way we could adjust that period of time.
You provided me with this, I didn't have this, so I just thought it kind of helped me to just look at interesting, and I'm an accountant. So interesting enough to let me look at from 7/13/23 all the way back to 2007. And it clearly is something glaringly wrong with the meter, but again, I take ownership for what I thought was gonna be a joint meeting with Mr. Lynn, who's now in Georgia, who's not coming to Philadelphia and has washed himself from the property. So I accept ownership as owner of the house. I get that.
So hold on, Mr. Luck, I appreciate that, but I want to go back, Mr. Pang. Is it now the position of the Water Revenue Bureau that these are in personam bills and that Mr. Luck, Jerome is no longer is not responsible even as the current owner of the property?
I am responsible.
The city's position.
I'm sorry.
The city's position is Mr. Drumore is responsible for the balance transfer, and the new bills Ms. Drumore just brought to our attention is not in the scope of the current petition.
Okay, so the problem we're having is that your colleague told us that that is no longer the position of the city. So as a result, if you're now making this alternative argument, we need to take under consideration which version is this position of the city. We were just told not even 2 weeks ago that the bill is now in personam, it's not in rem. So as a result, the previous owner would be responsible and not the current petitioner.
In which case, we don't have anything that we have to deal with here.
And in this case, we would grant his petition and abate him at this point, and you need to go after the previous owner.
So
I suggest speak to Mr. Safedine because that was a case
that was on the record, it's recorded, and as a result, if that's the position that your office is taking, we were told that multiple times, and we asked for clarification. And if that is the case, this petitioner here today is not responsible for this bill. It no longer goes to the property, and you would need to go after the previous owner.
So he repeat what position are you referring to?
We were told at a very recent but previous water revenue
2 weeks ago,
hearing that these bills are now considered in personam. Therefore, any bill would become the personal responsibility of whoever was the owner of the property at the time that the bills accrued.
Yep.
Therefore, Mr. Jerome, as the current owner, would have no responsibility for a bill generated between 2013 and 2017 as he was not the owner.
And he
we
cited to apportion some regulations, and we were supposed to get a write-up on it, but we were told that that is the position of the city.
The new
Uh,
position.
Hold on,
Mhm.
I'm gonna forward the board something from Mr. Safety. He argued that it is both. It is both in rem and in personam.
But you
Not-
can't have it both ways. So the moral of the story, and that's going to be the position of the board. So the point is, we
May
were
I-
told one thing, and now you're saying something different. So which is it?
The in personam jurisdiction came from 53 PS 7251. The in rem the in rem collection came from the 53 PS, if I remember correctly, not in front of me, 71006 related to the liens that the water revenue placed on the delinquent debts. I believe the city have the right to collect under the liens that the debts that are lien and could be lienable.
But Mr. Ross, or is it Miss Ross, the previous owner no longer owns the property. If it's a personal debt against the previous owner of the property, and then how can you lien a property they don't own any longer?
So the personal responsibility is authorized under 7251, but the lien is in rem lien, so lien goes with the property. So it means we can collect it
Can't
both ways.
collect against Mr. Moore. And it's his property now.
As I said, the previous owner's debts was lien or lienable against the current owner.
But the previous owner doesn't own this property anymore.
The lien is,
How can you hold Mr. Moore responsible for a debt that someone else owes?
well, because the lien goes with the property instead of an individual.
But Mr. Moore is not responsible for this debt. So how can you lien his property?
Well, he would be notified of the debt when the property transfers.
But
And
it's
was
not his debt. You've said, I mean, if the position is that it's in personam and it goes with the owner,
the position is actually in
Mr.
personam
Moore's
and in rem.
I mean, this seems very seem inconsistent to me.
So like I explained earlier, the in personam right to collection came from 7251.
Now, I understand where they all come from. I'm just saying that this does not seem internally consistent or externally consistent to tell us that the previous owner is personally responsible. It's an in personam debt, it goes with the person, but I can lien the property of another person for that debt.
The way I see it's almost like a joint several liability. So you can collect, city can collect in rem through the liens, and statute allows the liens, and also can collect through in personam through the 7251.
I'm okay. I don't see it.
Anyone else have anything to add before we step aside to try to come to a conclusion?
Does the board want to step aside?
Sure.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know what just happened. And- Just waiting for Paula, who is here. Go ahead.
The board's reached a decision. We want to take this matter under advisement and ask that the city provide information that outlines their position on just how this will be handled. I'd appreciate it if my lawyer friends on the board would elaborate on what that memorandum might look like.
Mr. Peng, we're looking for a memorandum of law outlining the city's new position that Water Revenue Bureau bills are in personam as well as in rem, and what the foundation is for that new position.
Understood.
30 days?
That's sufficient?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Nancy, I concur.
Okay. The other board members?
Dominic Ward concurs.
George Matthews concurs.
And I concur as well. That's Nancy Cameron.
Mr. Moore, what this means is that the board is going to be waiting for the city's brief. And then once they get it, the board will take some time to review it. And then we will schedule this case for just a decision only, where we will announce the decision based on the city's brief. And then, at that point, you could decide to appeal the decision or make payment with the city.
I need to be in person, or is that gonna be done in Britain? It's gonna be sent by way of letter?
Yeah, you don't actually have to be present for just the reading of the decision.
Okay,
Or you could be
Virtual.
on the virtual hearing where you could come in on a Zoom call.
that's fine.
All right, so just wait for a letter. The first letter will just simply say that this was continued or held under advisement. And the next letter will simply say that this is going to be scheduled for a reading of the decision.
Okay, and that letter will go to my Ardmore address.
Whatever address we are sending things to you now, which I believe is the Ardmore address. I feel like I saw that earlier.
It is, thank you. It is.
Okay.
Mr. Peng?
Can I get a specific date for the due date for the memo?
Sure, Mr. Payne, give me 1 sec. I'm just gonna look at my calendar.
30 days out would take it to the end of
How about Friday, the 27th
October 27th?
of October? Yeah,
I believe I can.
okay.
27th?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Moore, we thank you for coming in. And you'll be getting a letter from us that spells out the decisions on both matters.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Do we have,
Number 2.
number 2 is the one who's here, okay?
Yes.
Case number 2 for Open Sky Investments LLC, last four digits of the docket, 9663. Who has this matter for the?
No, the petition.
Yimpeng
I know.
for the city?
No, I'm not from the city.
Oh, sorry.
I was putting it that way because it's an individual as opposed to Open Sky Investments. Please identify yourself. I don't believe you're, I think you're on mute.
There. Hello.
Please identify yourself. for the
Hi.
record.
I'm Deborah Hoskins. I'm one of the managers for Open Sky Investment.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth with everything that comes before the board?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Who has this matter for the city?
Yimpeng representing the city.
And Angela Brockington, Water Revenue Bureau.
Okay, and who has the numbers for the record?
I do. The period in question is January 13, 2021 through February 11th, 2022. Principal, $1,502.61, zero penalty, zero lien, and a total $1,502.61.
Oh, that's been corrected.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm not sure where that number came from. I am current on my bill and have been getting a credit. So I don't know where that 1,052 comes from.
That's just the number that covers the period of time that you're questioning. So we know what the billing was. at that
Okay.
time. And I believe
Okay.
it was in your letter. I think it's consistent.
Okay, good. I just was a number I'm not familiar with. Okay, now what happens?
Okay, Peng, do you have any opening comments from the city before we turn to the petitioner?
Yeah, I would like to, if the board please, I would like to point out that the petitioner did not file a formal refund request with the Department of Revenue for this matter, and the city believes the current petition should be denied, and petitioner should file a refund petition first through the Department of Revenue and then working its way back up.
Not sure I followed that.
So the petitioner is currently asking a refund of already paid water bill, and current posture is in the billing dispute as of this petition.
Ms. Hoskins, the bill is paid,
I pay my water bill every month.
but you
What-
paid
what-
the amount that's in dispute.
I have paid all the full amount that I was billed. And what I did in, let's see, February 23, we had a hearing. And we went, and it was determined at that hearing that that the water bills were very high and for a certain period of time. And I was asked for a rebate of part of that monies that I paid because the water bill, we ended up, how to explain it simply, we ended up with a meter being repaired or replaced or something, and as soon as that happened, the water bills went back to normal. So there was a period of time from January 21 to February 22 that the water bills were really skitsy. They were very erratic. Sometimes they'd be a lot of CCFs, and other times they'd be a little bit more normal. Prior to when that started and after when that started, or when was repaired, the water bills were more normal and the tenant was the same through the whole period of time. So I had asked that that be considered and that they rebate, that the Water Bureau rebate a reasonable amount of the monies that I paid so that it was more consistent with my normal usage. And they granted a rebate. So I did go through a rebate petition. And this, I was, when I got the decision on that rebate decision, I wasn't sure what the amount, how they had figured the rebate. And I'm not an accountant, but I was just logically figuring if I looked at the bills before, when the bills were normal, and then there was the high period, and then the bills after, which were normal again, that I would take an average of both those period of time of the CCFs used. And before we had the problems with the readings on the meter, we were using about 3.23 CCFs over a 13-month period on average. And afterwards, after the repair was made, we were using 2.66 or 2.33, depending if you use 9 or 12 months. If you use 9 months, it's probably more accurate because the tenant was away for the last 3 months of that year. So that was 2.66. So I would just I'm just requesting that the rebate be based more on accurate usage rather than a number that I don't know where it came from. And so I'm asking for a bit more rebate, but I expect to pay for the usage, normal usage during that time, which has been my aim from the beginning. Is there was something wrong with the meter. The board agreed, or whoever heard it agreed that something must be wrong, and they rebate it, or they wouldn't have rebated it. So I'm just asking for a more reasonable amount of money to be returned to me.
And what is the amount that you are asking for?
I'd like the usage for that period of time to be based maybe on 3.5 CCS, which is a little bit more than the average before and the average after that period of time per month. 3.5 CCFs.
Do you have a
as far-
dollar amount that you have?
A dollar amount? Let's see. Well, I didn't figure that exactly, but
Okay.
it was,
I don't know that you
thought that
could.
you
And
had.
Nancy, that has to be based on whatever the water revenue rate.
Yeah.
I just wonder whether she had already
yeah,
identified.
well, it's close to 400. That in addition to what I've already received, I received 353, which was based, I believe, on 8 CCFs a month, which is quite a bit more than what the property normally uses by about 5.
Mr. Peng?
2 point. First of all, the city of these objections mostly, like I said, mostly procedural. The Philadelphia Code 1917-03 requires the refund request be going directly from general revenue, and the petitioner so far has the record indicate petitioner has not filed a refund request with the Department of Revenue. That's the first point. The second point, the petitioner just if I believe correct, just mentioned she received some of the abatement from the master hearing of the tax review board. The city would just like to remind the board that the full board tax review hearing is at the noble hearing. So whatever abatement happened at master hearing no longer exists at this point. What we're doing in this case, if we go moving forward, will be from 0 to 100.
Do you understand what he's describing for? I had a feeling from your expression that you weren't done.
No idea.
So what he's explaining is that once you come back once you appeal the decision that you had prior, that decision goes away and this board starts anew. So the fact that the prior hearing master may have given you some relief, that does not survive. You're starting again, essentially. We are hearing it anew. Our question, however, is now procedural, not substantive. It's since you have paid the bill. This is now in what we would call a refund posture.
Yeah.
And the city's regulations and procedures require that you actually, unless you've done this, there is a specific refund process to go through before you get back in front of the tax review board. And the city is reminding us and explaining to you that this board cannot move forward with a refund unless the proper refund procedures have occurred. On the other hand, we have a hearing master who's already gone forward and heard it. So I guess we need to talk as a board to determine how we want to proceed.
Okay, if everyone just holds tight, the board is just gonna jump in a room to discuss.
Thank you.
Before we do that,
yes,
Ms. Hoskins, when did you pay the bill in full? Or were you
Each month. I mean, I pay my bill in full each month.
Okay, so you paid as you went along. You didn't.
Yeah. I paid it because.
Okay, so this has been paid as we went along. That was
Yeah. Well, what happened is I paid it each month, still trying to figure out why it was so high, but knowing if I didn't pay it, then I would be in trouble. So I don't like to be in trouble.
No, I appreciate that. That was just my question. Thank you. All right, we're gonna take a minute to talk about this.
Okay, thank you. Hot. It's warmed up outside.
It's warming up a little bit, 72 degrees.
I think they can hear us.
Just waiting for the rest of the board members to return. Bless me. I like covered my mouth halfway. I believe everyone is back.
Okay. The board's reached a decision, and basically that decision is that there is no action needed on this matter, but in order to continue to get the refund that you feel you're entitled to because you paid the amounts that went beyond what was due and owing, you will need to file a petition for a refund. I know that seems to be kind of incongruous here, but the only way we can see that this can happen and go forward for you to get that refund is to file a refund petition with the Department of Revenue. They are liable to turn you down, but then you would appeal to us and we would be looking at this in I'll say with a broader perspective, in that you have paid more than was due and owing. And so we will have to see how that goes as it goes along there, but we're recommending that you file a refund petition with the Department of Revenue for the amount that you feel you have paid over and above what was owed. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that I understand what you're saying. I thought originally that's what I had filed, was a petition for refund originally. Did I not originally when I spoke to the master hearing?
Yeah, so what we did notice in your petition is that you did have refund, but because there was no refund denial letter, there has to be a denial letter from the Department of Revenue for us to actually process it as a refund. So we processed it as a merit because there was no refund information from the Department of Revenue. They did not review it. And what you also filed was a informal hearing letter, which we take as merit petitions as well. So despite your best efforts, because it didn't come from the Department of Revenue, we had to process it as a merit.
So, Ms. Andre, can you direct Ms. Hoskins to the, I guess, website or where she would find that refund petition, the correct petition and where it goes?
Yes, I think I could put it in the search bar, if that's okay with you.
Find that.
Hold on, or the chat. I meant to say the chat.
Hit the chat button.
Let's see.
And while you do that, Nancy, this is Paula Weiss. I concur with that decision.
George Matthews, I concur with that decision.
And Dominique Ward, I concur with that decision.
And Nancy Camerino, I concur in that decision.
All right, we have
We're
one more.
sorry we've taken you around the horn
Not
on
very
that.
much.
But I don't think until we really got into the discussion of the I'll call it the nitty gritty here, we didn't realize either what the full impact was in terms of getting a refund on something that was like an overpayment. Because that's really the status you're in at this point. You've made an overpayment and you're asking for a refund.
So what I, just to be clear on, what I want to be clear on is what I filed originally was not a request for a refund.
It was
It's not in the right
it
place,
was not a
essentially.
person. Yeah.
It was not in the right place. So Ms. Andre is going to guide you to the correct document and it gets filed.
It needed to go to the Department of Revenue.
Department instead of the water board.
Correct, the tax review board. We do hear refunds, but the Department of Revenue has to make a determination on the refund first. And then we do the appeals for the refunds.
Okay, so even though when they sent me the letter for what the decision was, and they said, if you want to appeal this, and I sent that back in, it wasn't really the right thing to do.
It wasn't the right thing to do because the initial informal hearing you had should have also been a refund posture. You were always looking for a refund and they treated it as though you hadn't paid the bill.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, we're sorry this is a runaround, but if you file this, and you need to do it before January, that's the other thing, time is of the essence here. File this refund petition with the Department of Revenue. You will get a decision from them. If you don't like, if you're dissatisfied with the decision from the Revenue Department on your refund request, you will have the opportunity to come back in front of us.
Okay, and you are the tax
review board. And the refund letter that you get with the denial or the partial denial or whatever it is that you want to appeal should give you the information to once again land you back here in front of this board by appealing that refund denial from the Department of Revenue.
Okay.
I apologize again, as we all have, for taking you around and around and around, but unfortunately we are bound by those ordinances and regulations to do this procedure.
Do I have to go to another hearing or can I just file the paper?
You can just file the paper.
Right.
Okay, that's
good. And I'm emailing it to you right now. Okay.
Okay.
But
Thank
if you end up back here, you'll obviously need to come
again. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. And we're sorry we've gone all around the horn on this one, but I think as we talked about it, we started to see some of the issues that had not been called to light.
Okay.
Excuse me.
All right. I'm just gonna go check about case number 4. So just give me.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good week. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time.
All right, everyone. It is approximately 3:27. There is nobody here in the office at 100 South Broad Street, and there's no one in our, but Mr. Peng has his hand up, and there's nobody in the waiting room. Mr. Peng, do you have any information on case number 4?
Yeah, the case number 4,
Let's identify that for the record. That's US Penrose 2021 LLC docket ending in 9436. Please proceed.
Yeah, so I'm just providing information. So the current balance of the water account for the petitioner is negative 60,000 something. There was a mass bill reversal took place after the petition was filed. So the petition, I think there's like a attached the bill. Is on top of my head is something like a $130,000 worth of bill. Currently, not only the $130,000 bill no longer exists, the current balance is negative 60,000 something. If you require the specific number, I think Miss Angela Brockenlong can provide you.
I don't think we need that much. Either the board finds it as no action needed based on the fact that there's no balance and we've heard that been a bill reversal. Or we find it, the petitioner failed to appear and we mark it denied appear.
Well, I think since we can't take any evidence, they're not here, it would be denied for failure to appear.
Do the other board members concur in that?
George Matthews, I concur.
Dominic Ward, I concur.
And Nancy Camerdiner, I concur. So we'll mark this item as denied for failure to appear, but we recognize that if they come back, there's a likelihood that there won't be an issue there to discuss. Any other items to come before the board that aren't on today's agenda?
Oh, I have one. To my board members, not necessarily everybody else, but Thursday's schedule has been completely continued due to various reasons. So my board is free on Thursday.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you
Merry
very
early
much.
Christmas.
And we'll see many of
Take
you.
care, everybody.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Stacy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
My notes are crappy. But you
Don't
know,
worry.
one of them.
No. I feel like the only person that we might be appealing is Mr. Moore. And I hope that does not.
Oh, good thing there wasn't any water left in there.